Okay, again, today mostly we're going to talk about the table views. And iOS runs on powerful devices that can handle sophisticated computer tasks, allowing users to work with large sets of data. As a programmer, how can you display data in such a way that it's elegant to view and efficient to manipulate? Enter the UI table view, one of the most widely used views in iOS. Table views are perfect for efficiency, displaying large or small amounts of information, and for managing dynamic or static lists. Again, you can the advantage of using this is that the rows in the table can be dynamically generated, right? You could have a database and the person updates the database. That database can be connected to your table view. As the database is being updated, you can automatically have a new line in your table, right? You can think of the table as being almost like an array, and you put stuff in. Every time you put stuff in, like, just like we've already built, the table will have a logo or an icon. It can have some text. It can have some subtext or something like that. It can have another graphic over there, whatever. You can put almost anything in there. Each one can have its own attributes, right, or properties in there. And then you can have an array which has, icon. Let's see, open. And then you can have what else? Title. And then you can have what else? Whatever. And then once you make that, you can dynamically generate these and then make a new one, make a new one, make a new one, and it can be connected to a database. Does that make sense? All the pieces, each row has the same attributes in the row, and then you can dynamically generate all of them as long as they're similar. We have an example of that. Okay. In this lesson, you'll learn why table views are so popular among ISO developers. The lesson will focus on dynamic table views. The next table view lesson will cover static table views. Again, dynamic. Here we go. Just like I was talking, you can have the emoji dictionary, right? In the emoji dictionary, you'll have an iOS device. You are encountered a table view or UI table view. Because of this, their utility, table views are one of the most ambiguous views of all in iOS. In the music app, table views allow you to navigate through your music hierarchy. In contacts, table views represent your contacts in a index list. In settings, the table view organizes controls into visually distinct groupings. It's easy to see why table views are so popular. As you work through this app, you'll practice your new table view skills by building an emoji dictionary app. Okay, again, you know where to find the emojis in iOS or in the Xcode. Before we jump into table views, you'll need to complete a few setup steps, all things you've learned about in previous lessons. To get started, open iOS Xcode and create a new single project emoji dictionary. So we're going to go and I'm actually going to make this one right now. Okay, hold on, let me close this. So again, if you want to practice, I'm going to start with a new Xcode file, right? I'm going to start with a new project, file, new project, and it's going to be called Emoji Dictionary. It's a single view app. Emoji, E-M-O-J, how do I spell emoji? G-E, Emoji, Emoji Dictionary. D-I-C-I. T-I-O-N-A-R-Y. Okay. And find a place to put it. I guess I'm slapping it on my desktop, make a mess of it all. Again, I'm just going to use iPhone. I'm not using Universal. And that's it. I'm going to go to the main storyboard. And I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Delete the view controller Swift file and the view controller scene in the main storyboard. Now you have a truly blank canvas to work with. Next step is to create your model. In this project, you're going to display information about different emojis. You'll need to create an emoji model object. Remember that model object should represent the real world objects you want to display to the user. Your emoji structure will have the following properties: symbol, which will be a string, name, which would of course be a string, description would be a string, and usage a third string listing the emoji's usage or synonyms for plain text. For example, an emoji instance might look like this. You have the elephant, his name is Elephant, description's gray elephant, usage good memory. Before looking at the next code segment, try creating a Swift file called Emoji Swift and a class to represent the emojis. Don't forget the member-wise initializer. Okay, so what are they saying to do? Well, let me make this smaller. I'm like running out of space here. They want to delete the view controller file and the view controller scene in the main storyboard. So we're going to delete this. Yes, remove. Okay. And then the scene here.
It's remove reference same or
what's that?
Remove. There was a remove reference option and remove to trash, right?
Yeah, I just moved to trash. I don't know. What did it say? I didn't read the question.
There was a remove reference option, which means it will not show you the reference, but I think it still keeps it in the folder. But I guess since we're not using it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to use it. You're going to have a table one. And then delete, it says delete the view controller file and the view controller scene in the main storyboard. So the scene file is this one, and you can delete that. Okay, the scene is gone. You still have the main storyboard here, but the scene is gone. So you make the scene blue and delete it.
I thought we have to delete main story also, right?
What's that?
Do we have to delete the main storyboard?
No, you keep the main storyboard here. You're not removing the storyboard. You're just removing the reference to the view controller, right? The scene. Before looking at the next code segment, try to create a new Swift file called Emoji Swift and the class to represent an emoji. Don't forget the member-wise initializer. Didn't they have a question mark on that? Okay. Well, whatever. How do we make a new Swift file? Well, again, you go under File, New File. And we're going to choose Swift right here. Remember doing that, right? Okay, next, we give it a name. Did they tell us what to name it? Emoji Swift. Emoji Swift. You don't have to put the extension. It'll do it. And it should go to your same folder. Okay, so then they have some code they want you to put in. Again, you're making a class called Emoji, which is going to have a symbol, a name, a description, and usage. So we have a class Emoji. And of course, it has our round brackets. And then of course it has a variable named symbol, which is a string. Then it has a variable name, which is a string as well. And then it has a variable, which is a description. Oops. Guess I have to hit return, which is a description with a small d, which is a string. Then we have last one, variable usage. What does this emoji do? Which is a string as well. And of course it says you have no initializer. So don't forget the member-wise initializer. So how do we fix that? The exclamation point. Store property symbols without initial values prevents Synthesize initializer has no initializer. So how do we fix it?
Just create a null string. You can put a default initializer here, like that. So we'll have to do it for all, right?
What's that?
We'll have to use it for all the strings, right? The name has
Yes.
default value null. Yeah.
So it has a. It has two things. Do we need to do that?
Yeah.
On all of them?
Yeah. Alternatively, we could have created an init method, right?
Yes, that's what I thought. So this will have a holding spot for it then. I don't know. What's the second page? Initialize symbol, string, name, string, description, string, usage, string. Self, symbol equals symbol, self equals symbol, symbol, self description. So now that your model is set up, you can dive into table view. So is that inside there?
Yeah, it's inside the class.
Did I spell it wrong? Okay. So again, you're basically building the pieces for each of the parts inside of your table, right? So basically what this class emoji is for is that you're going to have a symbol that's inside your table. You'll have a name that's in this table. You'll have a description that's in the table, and you'll have a usage in the table. So all four items go into each table, if that makes sense, right? Just like I drew on the board, right? So in this case, the anatomy of a table view. The table view is an instance of the UI table view class. It may be possible for displaying one data object or tens of thousands of data objects. In order to accommodate many rows of data, table views represent data in a scrolling single common list with the option to divide the rows into sections or groups. Each section can have a header above the first item and a footer below the last item. The table view itself can have its own header and footer. Just think of your mail app on your phone, right? And the other thing to keep in mind is that it does it dynamically loads and unloads automatically for you. So right when you're scrolling, the stuff that's going up here is going to be removed from memory, and the stuff that's coming here is going to be added to the memory. So one of the things about the way that it does the table is that it dynamically removes and adds content to memory as it's going along. Because think about it, if you had a list of 10,000 items, right? and they try to load all 10,000 items in at one time, it's going to crash. It's going to suck up all the memory. So it only loads what's in the visible area. And as you're scrolling up, it removes that from memory and adds this to memory. If that makes any sense. So just think about the visible area there. There are two ways to add a table view to your project depending on how you use the table view. One approach is to add a table view instance directly to the view controller's view. Here you may have other views your view controller manages, and the table view only part of the view. This is how I'm going to do the National Park app, is that the table view is not going to be the entire thing. It will just be part of it, the navigational part. All right, let's say the first screen. So just read what it just said right there. The table view doesn't need to be the entire object. We can have, like I said, up here, we can have, the national park symbol, whatever it is, pinnacles, national park, whatever. And then we can have a nice maybe photo and a little description. And then we could say, and then we can have the table view below that. Camping. What else are we going to do? Camping. Oh, map, right? Or website. So the table view can be part of it. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Is what I'm trying to say there. Right? So this would be scrollable here as well. So again, that's what they're talking about here. Add a table view instance directly to the view controller view. Here you may have other views, right? Other views, other things. Managing the table view is only part of the view. So it's easier to have the table view be the whole thing. I can tell you that right now. That causes problems when I'm drawing on the screen. It makes it harder. In this case, you're responsible for the auto layout of the table view and therefore can position it any way you'd like. You're also responsible for setting the data object, source object, and a delegate object. Okay, so again, what is the data source object? Well, that's going to be the array of content that goes into your tables. Again, the reason why I said to cover the entire object with the table view is then you don't have to worry about auto layout and all that. When I drew on the board, we have to now think about, how far down is it going to be from the top, right? And so you have to, that's why I said it's easier to do the whole thing as a table view, because then you can just put the table view and say 0, 0, and it stretches through the whole thing, right? That's what they're warning you about there. An extra advantage of table view controllers is that they have free functionals, which means you don't have to write code to get those features, as opposed to just using a table view on a view controller. One example with the table view controller is that the view will always scroll to the keyboard. Keyboard covers a text field within the table view. With table views on view controllers, you don't get this functionality and would have to add code like when you use scroll view. Because of the benefits of table view controllers, most iOS programs refer to the second approach. Back in your Emoji Dictionary project, drag a navigational controller from the object library into the scene. You'll notice the second view controller, a table view controller. So this is what I was talking about. See this navigational controller? It's a wrapper that goes over top of your table view. Okay? How do you get to it? Well, it's one of the objects in there. So here, I'll show you what I mean. You go over here to the drag a navigational controller. So it's one of the objects up at the top. Hold on, I have to make my screen bigger. And go to the main storyboard. In the main storyboard, we want to add a navigational controller. Where's my objects? Here's my objects. Again, the object is navigational. It's called navigational controller. Okay, it's in the object up here. You see it? It's up here in the object. Navigational controller. Drag that out and release the mouse. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. You'll notice the navigational controller is the wrapper that goes over top of the table view. So in this case, you put your navigational controller, second view controller, and a table view controller. Back to your Emoji project, drag a navigational controller from the object library into the scene. You'll notice a second view controller, a table view controller automatically came along for the ride. By using the navigational controller, you were able to combine adding a table view controller and embedding it into the navigational controller into one easy step. There's another way of doing that as well. There is one called table view. So you don't necessarily need to use this as navigation. You can use the table view for a variety of things. You don't necessarily have to be for navigation. That's the other point I want to make. You can use the table view for just displaying data for somebody to read, where they're not even clicking on it, right? You can just have things in a group that goes down, in boxes that goes down. So again, you can go and, here, let me just make one real quick here. I'll show you what I mean. Let's just have a single view app. So again, you don't necessarily, so you have a view controller. Let's say you have a view controller. I'm here, I'm building my project, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I could just go over here and type in table view. You don't even need to use the table view controller. You can just use the table view. And you can stretch it out, and you can then dynamically generate pieces in there, right? And there's then table view, and then you put in cells. So the first thing you do is you put the table view out, and then you put a cell in there. Okay, and then there's your prototype cell. Then you can take that and dynamically generate it from XML file or something like that people would use. So what I'm trying to say is you can use these table views just to display data without even navigation. I know the way that we were reading it and before, it's for navigation, right, for the background. But what I'm trying to say is it doesn't necessarily have to. You could just use it to maybe some pictures of a person and then their job title or something, right? Maybe it's the employees at a company or something, right? You could have the person here, a picture of the person and what they do, but it's not clickable. It's just scrollable, and it's information you want to read. And if you do it this way, it can be dynamically generated from some database or something like that. That's the advantage of using something like that. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to say. This is a way to organize your information. It's a good way to organize your information is the table view. Okay, let's go back to the emoji. Next, set the navigational controller to be the initial view controller by selecting the navigational controller and checking an initial view controller in the attributes inspector. Then add a new CocoaTouch class called Emoji Table View Controller as a subclass of the UI Table Controller. Back in your storyboard, select the Table View Controller and assign Emoji Table View Controller as a custom class. Woo! That was a lot. I'll show you what it means, okay? There's a lot going on right here. I'll show you what it means. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to tell Xcode that this is where I want to start, not here. We want to start this. So this needs to be the initial view controller. To do that, I'm close. Set the navigation controller to be the initial view controller by selecting the navigation and checking the initial view controller as the attributes inspector. That would be over here, and that is the there's a check. What's that?
Yeah,
this one right here. This is the checkbox right there. Okay, now you'll see the arrow points at it. Remember I was drawing it on the board? So again, select this navigation controller, and then in the attributes here is the initial view controller. The wrapper is the top on top. is what it's trying to say. Then add a new Cocoa Touch class called Emoji Table View Controller as a subclass of UI Table View Controller back in your storyboard. So this is a new file that you need to create. It's a Cocoa Touch file. Okay, so to make that new file, we go underneath File, New, File, and you're going to be using a Cocoa Touch. Next, inside here, it's a View Controller. We're going to change the name to Emoji Table View Controller. So you're going to change the name to Emoji Table View Controller, and then this needs to be a subclass right here of the table view. So make sure it's as a subclass of UI Table View Controller. So you need to change this to the Table View Controller. UI Table View Controller. UI Table View Controller. Back in your storyboard, select the Table View Controller as assigned to the Emoji Table View Controller as a custom class. So say next. Make sure it saves it in your file. Go back to your storyboard. And then you're going to select back in your storyboard, select the Table View Controller, which is this one over here. And then here, it should show up. I'm not selecting the right. Is it just the cell itself? No. I want this whole object. I may have to zoom in here. Hold on. Should show up here. I think I got it selected over here. Table view. No. Table view cell. Root table view controller. There it is. So again, you got to select actually over here is easier than selecting out here, right? Because this is the list here, right? So select the root view controller and change it to Emoji Table View Controller there. That's what they're talking about down here. So again, do you see the root view controller here in the pull down menu here? And then assign it to the Emoji Table View Controller right here, the file that we just made. Right? Next. Build and run your app. At this point, you'll see an empty table view inside a Navigational Controller. Table views come in two styles, plain and grouped. So again, if we save it now and run it, I'm going to choose 8. You'll see a basically you see nothing.
Can you please go over the steps of creating the class again?
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't come up for some of those.
Let me start again. You want to start from beginning?
Yeah.
I'll start a new one. Here we go. Here's so we're going to make a new file. Oh, no, a new project. A new app. I'll call it Emoji. What was it called? Emoji something? We'll call it Emoji 2. How about that? Again, I'm going to use just the iPhone. Then I'm going to main storyboard. First thing, you're going to delete the view controller, right? So I delete the view controller. Then you want to delete the scene. Delete the scene, right? Okay. Next step is to import your view controller. So we want to do a view navigation. Sorry, navigational controller. That's it, right? And they put that out there. And then, of course, we made a Swift file, right? What was that Swift file called?
Emoji.
So we made a new file right here, new file. And we used a Cocoa, or no, we made a Swift file. Whoosh, I'm not going to go through making that whole Swift file again. Let me steal the other one. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Let me copy that. I don't want to start that all over again. So again, we made a Swift file under File, New, File. We made a Swift file, and we called it Emoji. Emoji what? Emoji. That was it. It was just called Emoji, right? Yeah, Emoji. And we created that, and then here's the code. Whoosh. Then back in the storyboard, here is our prototype. In this case, we need to make a Cocoa Touch file for the navigation, a Cocoa Touch file. To do that, we went underneath File, New, File, and we made a Cocoa Touch. Next, and it was a table view. We called it Emoji. Yeah, E-M-O-J-I. Emoji. What was it called? You made Emoji what? No, it's Emoji. Emoji Table View Controller. Emoji Table View. Oh yeah, that's it. Emoji Table View Controller. And it's a part of the Table View Controller. Yes, UI Table View Controller there as the option. UI Table View Controller. UI Table View Controller. Emoji View Controller. Okay, so we made that. We saved that. Oh, and then this one needs to be the first option, right? So we selected the Navigational Controller, and we went into Attributes and said this is the initial controller, right? There. So we did that, and then the next thing you need to do is you need to take that Swift file that we just made, the one that's called Emoji Table View Controller, right? Or not, yeah, that Swift file we just made, and apply it to this scene right here, the table view here. So the easiest way that I found was to select it here. See how I selected it up here? In the remember, these are like layers here. I selected it up here, and then in the this option right here, this one right here, whatever, little square option. What is that called? Identity Inspector. See the square one up here? Inside there should be a class, a subclass here. You pull down the menu, and you're going to use the Emoji Table View Controller that you made right there. Okay? That's what was happening in this reading down here. Everybody got that far? Then they said test your app, and you saw it. It brings up a blank table with nothing in it, right? If I hit test now, I might have messed up, but you can see the list right there. You should see a list. You see that one? I'm going to go back to my first one I was working on. Okay, that's where I left off. And it'll show you the table view. The plain style is a default, a plain table view. Rows can be separated into labeled sections with an optional index along the right edge of the table. Each section immediately follows the previous section with no spaces, creating an unbroken list. In a group table view, rows are displayed in visually distinct groups or sections, right? You'll see you have, so you can see you can make a group one, right? Table views editing. In addition to the default non-editing mode, table views can enter an editing mode which enables user to insert, delete, or reorder cells. You can learn about editing mode later in the lesson. Every table view again has content and accessory view. So every row in a table view is represented with a table view cell. A table view cell instance. Tables are reusable views that can display text, images, and any UI element. In addition to cell content, each cell has an optional accessory view. More on accessory views later. In editing mode, the cell content size shrinks to allow room for the editing and reorders controls. So again, each table view has a text label, and an image view. The UI kit framework defines 4 standard cell styles. All the class UI table views cell style. Each style has its own layout and the contents properties and may not support all 3 properties. And so you can see them here. These are different built-in layouts for your table cell. Do you see that? They're kind of like built-in. You can have the basic one, which has text label and an image. You can have subtitle, which has text label, detail text label, image view, and so on. So you can have all these options for your table view. When a table is default view-only mode, cells can display an accessory view. Did I miss a page here? Uh-oh. There's a blank page in the middle. And you can see what it looks like. If you return to your emoji dictionary project in the table view controller scene, notice there is one cell under prototype cell header. If you select that cell and open the attributes inspector, you'll see many adjustable options, including style. Feel free to adjust the style to see the different options. Once you've explored your different options, select the subtitle style. You will use both label to display the emoji symbol and the name of the title line and description in the subtitle. This style also gives you the most room for both of your labels. Okay. So again, what are they talking about? Well, if you select your cell here, you can go over here to the attributes inspector, and then there is a, where is it? Style. Style. Oh, here it is, style. Basic, right detail, left detail, subtitle. What did they tell us to make it on basic? Style. It has a prototype cell and a title. Right detail has a detail in there. Left detail, subtitle. Do you see that? Right here, these, and then custom. Which one do they want us to use? You will use both label to display the emoji symbol and a name on the title line and a description on the subtitle. This style gives you the most room for both. He said use the subtitle option, so that would be this one, because you have title and subtitle. Did you see that one? Subtitle is what they're talking about. Table view readability margins. By default, the table view cell takes up the entire width of the table view. This may cause readability issues on larger screens. It is hard to read a very long line of text, but there's a fix. By setting the cell layout margin follow readable width property to true, the width of your table cell will stay within readable margins. Well, that's why I wouldn't make a iPad and iPhone version, right? I guess maybe if you rotate it, but that's not really going to make a big difference. Many of the API methods for table views either accept or an index path or a parameter to return an index path. As you might guess, an index path points to a specific row in a specific section of the table view. You can access these values through the row and sections property. Just like an array, these values are zero based. So you can see that right there. You're making a variable called emojis with an S, and then you're going to have an emoji. And you'll notice that each emoji here can have a symbol, a name, a description, usage, and so on. So you make this list, look at it all, and then you propagate it through the whole thing. And of course that'd take a while to type all that in. I'm going to